Welcome to the Surgical Edge podcast for surgical insights, reviews, discussions, and to stay updated. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really jumping into something fascinating, an area of health that, honestly, you might not think about much. Appendix tumors. We've got a whole stack of sources here, articles, research, and our mission, really, is to understand what these are, you're found, which is quite interesting, and, what happens next.
Yeah.
Get ready for some potentially surprising insights.
And surprising is definitely the right word.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable just how rare these tumors are, and also the way they're discovered. Often it's completely unexpected. It really tells you something about, well, the body and how we find things out.
Okay, so let's unpack that right away. Just how common, or I guess uncommon, are appendix tumors overall, like in the general population?
Well, they're quite rare. The incidence is up to maybe 0.97 per 100,000 people, so really not common at all.
Wow, okay.
And when we break down the types, the main ones, you've got neuroendocrine tumors, NETs. They make up about 30% or so.
Okay, NETs, 30%.
Then most of the rest are epithelial tumors. And these vary quite a bit. They can be mucinous, so producing that jelly-like stuff, or non-mucinous.
Right.
And they range from low-grade to high-grade invasive. Sometimes you even see these signet ring features.
Signet ring, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, it's how the cells look under the microscope. They literally look like tiny signet rings. And it often suggests, well, potentially more aggressive behavior. It's a bit of a red flag for doctors.
Got it. Okay. And you mentioned other types.
Yes, a much smaller group are the mesenchymal tumors. This is kind of a catch-all for things like lymphoma, neuroma, GSDs.
GSDs, those are the gastrointestinal stromal tumors.
Exactly. And also Kaposi sarcoma, granular cell tumors.
Yeah.
They're all pretty distinct, originating from different tissues in the appendix, but again, quite rare.
That's a really broad spectrum for something found in such a small organ and so infrequently.
It is, yeah.
So knowing they're this rare, here's the really intriguing part for me. How do people usually find out they have one? Do they get symptoms?
Well, that's the remarkable thing. The vast majority, really, they're asymptomatic when diagnosed.
No symptoms at all.
Typically, no. The tumor is usually found completely by chance, an incidental finding during an appendicectomy.
So someone goes in for suspected appendicitis.
Exactly. They have surgery to remove the appendix for what they think is appendicitis, a totally different issue, and the pathologist finds the tumor afterwards.
Wow.
But it's really important to mention a potentially severe outcome, something called pseudomyxoma peritoneae, or PMP.
Okay, PMP, what's that?
That happens if a mucinous appendix tumor, one of those epithelial types, ruptures or perforates.
Ah, okay.
The perforation lets the epithelial cells and all that mucin spread out into the peritoneal cavity, the abdominal space.
And that causes problems.
Big problems, yeah.
Yeah.
It leads to widespread mucin production throughout the abdomen. It's a serious condition.
So often no warning signs, but potentially serious consequences if a specific type perforates. That really does flip the script on how we think about finding diseases.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned neuroendocrine tumors, NETs, make up a pretty big chunk, around 30%. Let's maybe focus our deep dive there for a bit.
Sure.
What are the specifics on NETs of the appendix, their incidence, who gets them?
Okay, so appendix NETs specifically, their incidence is around 0.15 to maybe 0.6 per 100,000 people per year. So even rarer within the rare category.
Right.
They seem to be slightly more common in females. They arise from these specific cells, subepithelial neuroendocrine cells, just below the appendix lining. And location-wise, the majority, something like 70%, are found right at the tip of the appendix.
Interesting, at the very tip.
Yeah. And the average age when people are diagnosed is usually somewhere between 40 and 50.
Middle age, okay.
And again, reinforcing that point.
Yeah.
Most patients are asymptomatic. It's early-stage disease, found incidentally during that appendectomy for suspected appendicitis.
Right. Still that same pattern.
Exactly. It's actually quite uncommon for patients to present because of the tumor, like due to a mass effect or symptoms from metastatic spread. And carcinoid syndrome, that constellation of symptoms some people associate with NETs, like flushing or diarrhea, that's extremely rare with appendix NETs.
So that incidental discovery theme is just so consistent here. It's really striking.
It is.
But once this rare discovery is made, how do doctors confirm it's definitely a NET? And then how do they figure out how serious it is?
Right. So the confirmation, the diagnosis, relies on lab tests, specifically immunohistochemical staining.
Okay, special stains.
Yeah. They use antibodies that latch onto specific proteins like synaptophysin and chromogranin A. If those light up, it confirms it's a neuroendocrine tumor.
I see.
Then, for severity, the tumors are graded grade 1, 2, or 3. This grading reflects how fast the cells are likely to grow and divide.
How do they measure that speed?
They look at two things, the Chi-67 index and the mitotic rate. You can think of them as, well, gauges of the tumor's proliferative capacity. A higher Chi-67 or more dividing cells means a higher grade, potentially more aggressive tumor.
Okay, that makes sense. Staining confirms it. Grading assesses the risk.
Precisely.
So once you have that diagnosis and the grade, what does it all mean for the patient? What drives the treatment decisions? And what's the outlook, the prognosis?
Okay, so treatment and prognosis really hinge on three main things.
Yeah.
The tumor's grade, which we just discussed, its size, and how far it has invaded.
Grade, size, invasion. Got it.
So let's take the best case scenario first. If you have a low-grade tumor, it's small, less than 1 centimeter, it's been completely removed, fully resected, and there's minimal invasion into the outer layer, the serosa, or the nearby tissue, the mesoappendix.
Yeah.
Then the appendectomy itself is considered curative. That's it. No more treatment, no follow-up needed, typically.
Wow, so just the appendectomy can be enough sometimes.
Often, yes, for those very small, low-grade ones. Now, it gets a bit less clear for tumors that are between 1 and 2 centimeters, even if fully resected.
Okay, the medium-sized ones.
Right. Metastases spread can happen, but it's still rare.
Yeah.
So current guidelines usually recommend getting a CT or maybe an MRI scan of the abdomen just once to check for any spread nearby or further away.
A precautionary scan, basically.
Exactly. But then the situation changes more significantly for larger tumors, say, bigger than 2 centimeters. Or if the tumor wasn't completely removed during the first surgery, the appendectomy. Or if it's a higher grade, grade 2 or 3, or what we call T4 disease, meaning it's grown through the appendix wall or into nearby structures.
Yeah.
Or if there's vascular invasion.
Okay, so several factors that raise the risk level.
Yes. In those cases, further surgery should definitely be considered. Specifically, an oncological resection of the right colon, sometimes called a right hemicolectomy.
A much bigger operation than just removing the appendix.
Oh, yes. It's a major abdominal surgery. The reason is, in these higher-risk situations, the chance of the cancer having spread to the regional lymph nodes is significantly increased.
I see.
But, and this is crucial, you always have to weigh the potential benefit of finding and removing involved lymph nodes against the increased risks of that larger operation for the patient. It's a careful balancing act.
Absolutely. A very individualized decision, it sounds like.
It has to be.
So following that potential second larger surgery, what about monitoring then? When is follow-up needed long-term?
Well, if that completion hemicolectomy, the right colon resection, is done, and the pathology shows absolutely no leftover disease, no cancer in the lymph nodes,
Yes.
then usually no further follow-up is needed after that point either.
Okay, clear path again if the surgery is clear.
But if there is nodal disease found in that surgery specimen, or if the original tumor was high grade, then follow-up is mandatory.
Right, because the risk is higher.
Definitely. The follow-up typically involves imaging, like CT or MRI scans, usually around 6 months and 12 months after surgery, and then probably annually for some time after that.
To watch closely for any recurrence.
Exactly.
That all sounds very logical, a stepwise approach based on the risk identified at each stage. Very precise.
It aims to be, yeah.
So if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, what is the overall prognosis for patients diagnosed with an appendix net? How much does it vary?
Well, connecting it all. For patients who are caught with early-stage disease, which, remember, is often the case because of that incidental finding,
Right.
the prognosis is actually excellent. The 5-year survival rate is close to 100%.
Close to 100%. That's amazing news for those patients.
It really is. It highlights how effective treatment can be when it's caught early. However,
Okay. There's a however.
yes, for the unfortunate patients who present later or who develop advanced disease with distant metastases, the picture changes dramatically.
How much?
In those cases, the 5-year survival rate is typically less than 25%.
Wow, from nearly 100% down to less than 25%. That's stark.
It's a huge difference. And it's not just a number, right? It really underscores the massive importance of early detection. Finding these things, incidentally, while maybe surprising, can be genuinely life-altering in a positive way.
What a fascinating deep dive this turned out to be. We've really seen how these appendix tumors, especially the nets, are so often hidden, found almost by accident. And then how that chance finding triggers this incredibly precise, tailored medical response based on size, grade, invasion. It really shows the power of, well, vigilance in our diagnostic tools, even when we're not specifically looking.
It does, and maybe that's the provocative thought to leave you, the listener, with.
Yeah.
Just think about how many health conditions, maybe even rare ones like this, might be progressing silently. It really highlights the profound value of every medical interaction, every test, every incidental finding. These seemingly random discoveries can be the key to early detection, which, as we've seen, can dramatically change outcomes. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important things we find are the ones we weren't even searching for initially.
Thank you for listening to the Surgical Edge podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow and deliver even more relevant surgical content by pressing the support button. Your contribution truly makes a difference. And don't forget to share with us your advice, feedback, and the topics you would like us to include.